Is Phase 4 the death of the MCU? Personally, I think people are just getting overrun with Phase 4. It's the sheer amount of content that's came out. There has been 7 movies, 9 series, and 2 special presentations. It's been a lot for 2 years. I think the reason we've had so much is because with COVID shutting everything down, they thought, well, if this happens again, we've got no content. So they've just bombarded us with tons and tons and tons of content. And I think that is a big reason why people are saying that Phase 4 has been the death of the MCU. Personally, I don't think it's the best phase, but it's not the worst either. Funnily enough, I think the worst phase was Phase 1. It was just everything getting started. They had limited characters and they had a lot more time to spend on the characters, so you got to know them a lot better. Whereas with Phase 4, a lot of it's not established characters. It's new characters coming in. Like the first film in Phase 4 was Black Widow. She was an established character. The film didn't do as well as what they'd thought because they'd rushed it in the end. But overall, it's not a terrible film. It's a good spy film that fits into the MCU. It introduces new characters for later films, and they didn't do Taskmaster justice by changing the backstory. But at the same time, they didn't completely trash the character. They gave the character a different backstory that will fit into these further movies that they're going to do. They've planned ahead for these things so they know where they're wanting to take it. With other characters that are not big established Marvel characters in general, like the Eternals, they're not as big as like the Avengers or the Guardians of the Galaxy. Even that, Guardians of the Galaxy weren't as big as what they were until the films came out, and then their comics started to sell a lot more. Similar things happened with the Eternals, although it's Neil Gaiman's Eternals that have been selling more because of the popularity of Sandman. With Wanda, you've got Agatha, who isn't a known character to non-comic readers. So you're getting a lot of new characters coming out from this that is going to further the MCU in Phase 5. These characters are going to be specifically targeted characters that they're going to be working with. You've got Moon Knight and Miss Marvel. A lot of controversy with Miss Marvel because she's Muslim and she's a female and she's a teenager, and they changed the origin story as well for furthering the MCU. Her power's going to link to Kang, as is Shang-Chi's by the looks of it. They're changing things up for the specific case of furthering the MCU to keep it going for longer and longer. They are building a universe. They've been doing that since 2008. There's so many things that came out in Phase 4 that are going to be really, really relevant in Phase 5. Werewolf by Night opens up a lot of potential for a lot of other characters. From that, you can get a lot of Blade characters coming in when that gets up and running, whenever that is. You've got things like She-Hulk that will influence Daredevil, who showed up in it, but it's introducing the characters. It's showing her in her own setting for the specific reason that she doesn't want to be a superhero. She's a lawyer. That's what she is. That's what she knows. That's what she's going to do. But the series shows her having to do superhero things and then meeting Daredevil and then finding out that he's a lawyer, he's a superhero, and he can do both. And it's her progression to know that she can do both because that's what she needs to do because she's a Hulk. With the Hawkeye series, it's introducing characters in that, just like with Black Widow, with Yelena, people coming in for that are going to be in Thunderbolts. You're also getting people to be the Young Avengers. It's a moving timeline with the MCU. Characters come and go, and death does seem to be final for a lot of people in the MCU. Like, Iron Man seems to be gone now for good. Black Widow seems to be gone for good. Captain America seems to be gone for good. So these characters have came in, started it, and now they're gone. And they've opened the universe up for other heroes to come in and take over. You've also got Doctor Strange 2, and that opened up the multiverse properly. And because of doing that, it's helped establish Kang coming in, who can jump between multiverses without having to do all the things that these other people do. There was news come out that they're making a Strange Academy series with Wong and America Chavez. Again, that's more characters to bring in for the Young Avengers. A lot of people are calling it the MCU because it started off with Black Widow, and then you've got Doctor Strange, where the main characters really are America Chavez and the Scarlet Witch. They were the main characters. Doctor Strange was there to just move the story along. And then you've got Thor, with Jane Foster coming in as Mighty Thor. And then you've also got Valkyrie. And obviously they had to change Black Panther, because sadly Chadwick Boseman died. They decided, we're not recasting, we're changing the script up, and this is the way it's going to be. Out of the 7 films, not all of them were female-led, female-driven. It's just female characters in this universe that have been established that they're bringing in to move along a story. I know with Thor, people were thinking that this is going to be them killing off Chris Hemsworth to bring in Lady Thor, and it's like, well, if that's what they've done, that's what they've done. That's what they've written. Just accept that that's how these things are getting written. They don't have some agenda that's saying that everything has to be female nowadays. It's just, that's the way they went. That's the characters they're bringing in. They're trying to bring in people so that everybody feels represented. That is why superheroes are the way they are. They fight against injustice because it's the right thing to do. I mean, X-Men was basically Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. It was two sides of the same story. They're fighting for the same thing, it's just the way they did it. It seems to be that the MCU is having to fight with its fans because they don't want an MCU. Like, well, if you don't want it, just don't watch it. It's making people think that Phase 4's been worse than what it is because of all the backlash about silly stupidness. Like with She-Hulk, it was all about, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing this, she's doing that. Yes, that's the way they wrote it. That's how it is. In one scene, she's twerking. Stupid end credit scene that doesn't add anything. People go absolutely apeshit about it. But then you see Thor, there's a scene he ends up naked, and nobody batted an eyelid about that. Where's all the outrage about that? Where's the outrage about Hulk being naked in Thor Ragnarok? It's double standards, saying, oh, this is terrible because she's twerking. And yet Iron Man 2, he got drunk. He's like, people ask me how I pee in my suit, I'll show you. There was so much badness coming out about Miss Marvel as well, just because she was a teenage Muslim, but she's going to be a superhero. It's like, oh, you're just trying to get representation, you're just trying to get... It's like, yes, they're trying to get representation. They're trying to show anybody can be a superhero, including Muslim teenagers. They're opening up to the world. That's what it is. Just let them get on with what they're doing. Nobody's forcing you to watch it. There's people that actively watch it to complain. If you have watched something and somebody says, oh, this show's great, and you can say, personally, I didn't like it. You don't need to go into why you didn't like it. If it's, oh, she was twerking. If that's your reason for not liking something, then it's not a very good reason. I've spoke to people who didn't like the show, and they've said the reasons why, and it's perfectly valid reasons that they didn't like the show. Because of 2 shows and 1 film that were terrible, according to people, that the MCU's in dire straits. In 2 years, we were bombarded for 18 different Marvel products, and that's a lot of stuff to take in over just 2 years. The world's opened back up again. People's lives are going back to normal. we're not going to be blasted by these things anymore. So we can take a bit of time, spread things out a bit, and really start to enjoy the products that are getting given to us. During the holiday season, I actively watched the entirety of Phase 4. It's not terrible. It's not the death of the MCU. Phase 5 and Phase 6 look to be immense. You know, I've got my favourites from Phase 4. I've got ones that I'll probably watch one or two more times at most. Like the What If series, you don't really need to watch that to fit in with everything else. But it's a good watch. A lot of good stories in it. And the I Am Groot series, they're going to be doing a second series of that. Again, it's not needed to be watched. It's just silly wee shorts about Groot. Moon Knight is going to play a bigger part in Phase 5, and I believe there is a Series 2. There's nothing fully confirmed, but Oscar Isaacs has said that he started training for Season 2. It was a stopgap, Phase 4. They'd finished the Infinity Saga, and they needed to like round everything off, like finish telling the stories that hadn't been fully finished, and start telling the stories that needed to be told to further it. A lot of people, I think, forgot that they're watching a franchise, a universal franchise that is significant in each film. Things that happened in No Way Home significantly changed what happened in Doctor Strange. Things that happened in Shang-Chi will significantly change things for Loki Series 2 and also for the Kang Dynasty and also Ant-Man, Quantumania. Some things you can watch without it linking, like Thor, that didn't really link to anything. Eternals will link to some of the later films. I believe Eternals is getting a sequel as well. Moon Knight is going to link to a lot of different things. When you watch Phase 5, you'll see, oh, that's linked to that counts for Moon Knight. Or you'll watch something and say, oh, that links to Miss Marvel. Or with the new Daredevil series, that's going to link to Hawkeye and possibly She-Hulk. It annoys me a lot of the time about people saying that this is the death nail. Phase 5 and Phase 6 are going to be it. That's it. They're not going to plan a Phase 7. They're not going to plan a Phase 8. In 2008, they didn't have a 10-year plan. They had Iron Man. They done the Hulk. They done Captain America. They done the Avengers. They done Thor. And then they went, we can do more. So they done Phase 2. And then they done Phase 3. It's been going up and up and up for them. I don't want to say that Phase 4 has been a drop for them. It's not been a drop. It's sort of just steadied out. Yes, the CGI has been a bit iffy for some things, but overall, the films and the series have been great. Phase 4 ended on a high with the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which was fantastic. The soundtrack alone is one reason to watch that. Phase 4 is not the death of the MCU. I'm excited for Phase 5 and Phase 6, and I hope and pray that they can do the Fantastic Four justice in Phase 6. So I will leave it on that note, and let me know what you think. If you disagree with anything, let me know. I'm happy to discuss it with you, and we'll catch you in the next video.